Hi everyone, my name is Gary. Welcome back to Spiritech. On October 30th, one day before Halloween and the culmination of the spooky month of October, I decided to celebrate by performing a mirror gazing challenge. Mirror gazing is a type of gazing meditation, as the name suggests, and there are many different types of gazing practices. What is different about mirror gazing and the reason why I decided to do it within the framework of October Special is the fact that people who practiced mirror gazing reported having intense visual experiences. The way mirror gazing works is it requires two mirrors, one in which you are looking and another one behind you, which reflects your reflection from the primary mirror. So what you're actually gazing at is the reflection of your reflection in the primary mirror reflected into the secondary mirror and back at the primary mirror. So the basic requirement is the two mirrors, one in front of you and one behind you. But there are additional things you could do, such as sensory deprivation. Any kind of gazing or meditative practice benefits from removing distractions as much as possible. You cannot completely remove visual stimulation in gazing because vision is the primary medium through which you perform this type of exercise. However, you can reduce it so that you are able to focus on the visual information from the mirror and the mirror only. And so it is recommended to perform this exercise in a dark or dimly lit environment. Another thing you can do is eliminating auditory information, which can be done by wearing noise-canceling headphones, preferably while listening to a neutral sound like white noise. And white noise is ideal for that. What it is basically something that you would hear from a TV static. If you imagine TV static as a sound, that's kind of what it is. It's basically a very neutral, soothing sound. If you are worried of any negative influences getting involved in your gazing experiment, lighting a white candle with the intention of protection is a good precaution to take. And one could argue that this type of precaution is appropriate when it comes specifically to mirror gazing. Going back to the visual experiences that people describe while mirror gazing, people report seeing faces that are not theirs looking back at them through the mirror. People might receive messages, especially if you perform this exercise in a haunted environment, where spirits are known to reside. My house is not such an environment, but I still thought it appropriate to take that precaution. I did perform the mirror gazing exercise on Wednesday, November 30th, as promised, but it took me a long time to have it published. And the reason lies primarily in my inexperience. I did my best to prepare for the challenge in advance, but when I started the process, it still took a lot of unpredictable problem solving that I had to address. The strangest and the most unfortunate thing was the fact that my microphone wasn't working properly, and I only discovered that while reviewing the footage afterwards. Throughout the whole attempt, I could hear a buzzing noise overlaid on top of the recording. I'm not sure what produced it, and the microphone is working fine right now. So I'm glad my microphone is not broken, but it is quite frustrating because you can barely hear what I was saying throughout the experience. That presented a challenge that I did not know how to address. So in the end, I opted for doing a voiceover. I'm going to show you the original footage, and I will have to comment over it. I certainly intend to repeat this challenge again at some point. I have learned a lot from this experience, and I know what things I need to improve next time to bring you better content. So with that, I hope you enjoy the following footage. At this point, I finished setting up my equipment. It took me longer to set up than I thought it would, so instead of starting at 6, I'm starting at 6:19. It is very dark in the room at this point because I did try to eliminate visual distractions as much as possible. And also darkness is more conductive to a deeper meditative state, which is useful for gazing and for other deep meditative practices. A quick explanation of the setup: as I mentioned, it requires 2 mirrors. So you will see behind me a small circular mirror, which is the one in which the larger mirror in front of me is reflecting. So what you see on the screen is my reflection in the large mirror, and what I am gazing at is the reflection in the large mirror of the small circular mirror behind me, which, if you look at the screen from your perspective, you will see it to my right. Another thing, and why the preparations took longer, is I was trying to set up a YouTube stream, but I failed to do so due to technical difficulties. So then I attempted to stream on Instagram instead. Unfortunately, the Instagram stream didn't work too well because the frontal camera is very small and it wasn't able to capture enough light to the point where anything was visible. But I wanted to try to stream regardless, so that if anything interesting happens in real time, those who join could see it in real time. As you can see, I have set up a candle in such a way that is situated between the 2 mirrors, the camera and myself. I sped up the parts where I am just gazing without interruptions, and then I slowed down the videos again when I have any comments to make. And I already started seeing some visual distortions. This is completely normal, and in fact, if you spend any time, even 5 minutes or less, just staring at any object, you will begin to see outlines of different colors, things moving, stuff like that. What I was seeing in this particular instance was pretty interesting. All the objects in my field of view began to have this bright neon yellow outline to them. And again, seeing a colorful outline is common, but the vividness was pretty unusual and very interesting. At this point, I realized that I forgot to get my headphones for the important element of auditory sensory deprivation. So I went to get my headphones and I found a white noise recording to listen to. I have been recording for about 18 minutes at this point. This is the point at which I realized that this challenge is impossible to perform in complete darkness, because I do need to see the reflection in the mirror. Fortunately or unfortunately, I was not able to plug in the small ring light that I had in there, to which the webcam is attached. Then I tried to use the laptop screen as an additional light source by turning it towards the mirror, but that quickly turned out to be impractical. I left that part in just because of the cool effect of how the mirror becomes completely dark when you point the laptop in it, so that's just a cool visual effect that I wanted to leave in and show you. I opted to use the phone flashlight for additional illumination. The lesson learned is that although darkness, or at least dimness, is good for any meditative practice, when it comes to gazing practices, you have to find a good balance between reducing visual stimuli but also able to see enough of the object that you're gazing at. I realized I had to stop the Instagram live stream at this point because I was using the phone as a light source. At this point, we're probably about 40 minutes in, including the interruptions and adjustments. But at this point, I had to pause and remark that the visual distortions are getting more vivid. At this point, I have been observing certain visual distortions inside the mirror. I would not describe it as seeing other people's faces, but the image of my face was definitely not stable. Another interesting thing I noticed, probably because due to the size of the smaller mirror, was that my eyes were having a hard time focusing on the mirror both at the same time. So instead of seeing a stereo image that we're so used to, my eyes were switching between the right and the left, so that my reflection was shifting from left to right depending on which eye was focusing on the smaller mirror. So every second or so, the reflection would move this way or that, which was pretty interesting. I haven't experienced that before, but it wasn't anything out of the ordinary. After some more gazing, I began to notice a new type of distortion in the mirror, which almost looked like fingers or hands reaching into the mirror from the side and touching my reflection. It wasn't very vivid, and it was quite fleeting. If I had to describe it, I would call it hands or fingers reaching into the mirror as a matter of description. But it would take a stretch of imagination to get there. Another interesting thing that began to happen at this point is I started recognizing separate sounds inside the monotonous white noise. I could hear them pretty distinctly inside my right ear, and it almost sounded like a mechanical industrial sound. It's really hard to explain exactly what I was hearing. At this point, after another interval of uninterrupted gazing, I noted something that is very normal during meditation, which is your body enters a state of deep relaxation. I knew that for the sake of the video and the experiment, I wanted to continuously comment on new experiences coming in, but it was getting harder to do so just because of how relaxed I was getting. So that's not something that happens exclusively during mirror gazing, but any kind of deep meditation. And this is one of the reasons why I can't recommend enough having a meditation practice. The first auditory distortion I was describing has subsided at this point, and it was gone, but shortly after it was replaced by a different one. This time I was hearing it more in my left ear, and it was a more distinct but still pretty vague singing voice. It was a female voice, and it was singing or chanting something that sounded either like a folk song or a shamanic ritual chant. Nothing eerie or intimidating about it. It was in a way very soothing and empowering. I'm not quite sure what to make of it, and of course the most grounded explanation would be that it's a type of auditory hallucination or distortion. But of course more spiritual explanations are also possible. The interesting thing is that the voice disappeared as soon as I started talking about it. At this point, I was trying to describe another visual distortion that was happening and was becoming more vivid as the time went by, and that is that my reflection in the small mirror, it was getting veiled by a gray mist in a very curious manner. So sometimes this gray mist would obstruct my face, and sometimes the mirror would go completely dark, which is very interesting, but in my perception, it is still well within what you would expect from visual distortions from gazing. It is possible that people who are more sensitive to extrasensory perceptions, especially clairvoyance, which is a type of extrasensory perception that has to do specifically with vision, and given a better setup and perhaps a location which is known to be accessed by spirits, with those conditions you would be more likely to see more drastic changes. With those details in place, it is possible that some people do really see actual different faces appearing in the mirror. As far as I know, I'm not someone who possesses the ability to see spirits, or maybe that ability in me is underdeveloped. Or maybe I haven't been in a place or a situation where spirits would show themselves. And of course, I know that my setup wasn't perfect and it can be further improved. And my house is definitely not haunted. Not only that, I took additional precautions like the candle and a cleansing ritual. So, with all that combined, I have been seeing some distortions in the mirror, and if I were to let my imagination fly, I could say that they might or might not have been other people's faces, but that would be a stretch. Another person having the same experience might have described it as paranormal in some way, and might have perceived more details that I might have missed or filtered out. But in my experience, even though a lot of interesting things happened, I don't think I witnessed anything that I would describe as paranormal. I wish I could really show you what exactly I was seeing, but of course, That was my subjective experience, which no camera can capture. So the only way to reproduce it would be to try the mirror gazing experience yourself. Of course, with all the necessary precautions taken. I definitely recommend to try it, even if you're not looking for a paranormal experience. It is a very good meditation, and especially if you're doing it uninterrupted, you will get all the benefits that you get from any other deep meditation practice. And of course, no person is alike and no meditation is alike, so you might just find that mirror gazing is very useful specifically for you. My original intention was to do the challenge for 3 hours, which would start at 6 p.m. and end at 9 p.m. However, I did start a bit late, around 6:20, because of all the preparations and the setup. The total recording time ended up at around 1 hour and 16 minutes, with all the interruptions and adjustments and comments. I decided to finish the exercise earlier than intended because I felt like nothing more was going to happen than what was already happening. But of course, I would like to repeat it sometime in the future, being better prepared and perhaps changing the location. So I really appreciate any support. And if you did like this challenge and you would like me to do more similar things in the future or repeat the mirror gazing challenge, please let me know in the comments and give this video a like, and please share it with your friends so I know that you're interested. Your support will really help me a lot. And so, final conclusion, I did enjoy the experience. Just in terms of a setup for meditation, I think gazing is a great meditative tool, and I will definitely cover more types of gazing on this channel. In terms of any unusual visions and other perceptions, it was extremely interesting, but in my subjective opinion, nothing out of the ordinary happened that cannot be explained physiologically. And if you have tried mirror gazing, either before or after seeing this video, and experienced something you would like to share, by all means leave it in the comments and I would be very excited and curious to read it. And now, before we go, I would just like to remind you about another way to support my work, which is my Etsy store. I briefly showed you one of the spell jars that I have in my store, which are all handcrafted with intention. But another type of product I make are tabletop figurines. I currently have 4 types of them in the store. For example, I have this raven figurine which comes in white or black, and it's a raven sitting on a skull, which, aside from being a stylish accessory for your desk, also has the symbolic meaning of death and rebirth and the impermanence of things. So next time you're feeling down and you feel like things are not going your way or you're feeling stagnant, you can pick up your raven figurine and reflect on how forms are impermanent and whatever situation you are in will inevitably change. Keep doing what you have to do and have faith in the brighter future. So if you would like to have one of these on your desk or your display case or wherever you choose to put them, please check out my Etsy store in the description below. You will see my other products there as well, and I will be very grateful if you support my channel and my work in this way. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.